welcome to the gaming section of EML.CON. Gaming is something that has always been really important to EML, and certainly something that's been very close to my heart during my career at EML. Now, typically, I think people associate EML with the winnings cards that we do for online bookmakers. And whilst that's true, the gaming industry is so much bigger than just online gaming. Everything from social gaming to fantasy gaming, esports, and of course, physical casinos. So with us today, we've got a broad range of speakers from across the various segments of the industry that, again, we're really lucky to work with at EML. So we've got Chris Koch from VGW, social gaming platform. They own a couple of different brands, Chumba Casino, Global Poker. We've got Todd Buckingham, CEO of Betmakers, who are creating a platform of content for gaming providers in the US and Australia. We've got Sham Saeed of AppPay, who is trying to get casinos to go cashless throughout North America, and really working on security and regulatory issues there. And we've got Craig Kinross from Cherry Hub, who are working on an integrated data platform for local pubs and clubs, or local casinos here, or local physical casinos here in Australia. We'll be discussing the continual evolution of gaming and how payments can help drive revenue and customer engagement through enhancing the customer experience. All right. Well, welcome, gentlemen. How are you this morning?
Amazing. And yourself?
Yeah, good.
Really good, Rich. Thank you.
I think one of the things I'm most excited about is the fact that, I think typically people think of EML in the gaming space, and it's usually on the sports book, the large bet maker side of the business. So I think what's so exciting about this conversation is we're actually taking the cards into venues, and we'll hopefully, soon be, eliminating cash, potentially from, I guess, physical gaming venues. So with that, I guess if you guys could each just give me a quick, a quick synopsis of your business, how that works, and then we'll get into the conversation and how payments, really works in your businesses. So, Shams, why don't we start with you? Tell us about AppPay.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rich. So AppPay basically is a digital disbursement company. We live and breathe the philosophy of making everything cashless. So it's taking payments today in the gaming ecosystem, turning what you do at a cage, at a kiosk, at a teeter machine, at a jackpot, and giving an end consumer the ability to get paid out either to their bank account or to an instantly issued prepaid card. We've launched that service in North America today, and it's basically digitizing, like I said, and making instant payments to those cards. That's really what we do at AppPay.
Fantastic. So, Craig, with Cherry Hub, give us a little bit of insight on Cherry Hub and what you guys are doing here in Australia.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Look, Cherry Hub is a technology platform that's built for clubs, pubs, hospitality and gaming. When we talk about clubs and pubs, it might be worth me expanding on that a little bit for the global audience, Rich, as to what exactly that looks like in the Australian context. But if you can imagine a little casino on the corner in the suburb, we have hospitality and leisure destinations that are either leagues, clubs, or RSLs that are associated with really the community, but also rugby league teams, etc. And they're really multi-event and multi-function destinations. So they can be one of our clients in Western Sydney, just by way of example, has a 5-star facility, has 4 restaurants, multiple bars. They have entertainment lounges. They also have, normally as a part of their operations, they have gaming. So they've in different forms. That can be sort of keno or wagering, but also gaming machines. And so we work inside that. That's our customer base in the Australian market in the gaming context. Cherry Hub really aims to provide the intersection of digital membership, digital payments, and digital marketing and messaging, as well as with some gamification. So we're at our core, where our hub is a middleware that can integrate those things together, but we also provide through our partnership with EML our own digital membership and digital wallet solution for the venues.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks, Craig. So it sounds like, similarly, and granted on different scales, but, Craig, whether you're addressing the pubs and clubs market here in Australia, Shams, whether you're addressing the casino market, in North America between Canada and the US, traditionally those venues, especially when it came to whether it was the electronic machines, the slot machines, or horse racing, sports book, traditionally bet with cash, win with cash, in those types of venues. So what's changing today? What's happening that we want to I think, Shams, as you've said, move away from cash?
So, I'll answer that in a couple of fold answer, right? It's one, and we won't talk about the pandemic because everybody knows that's accelerated digital. That's a given. But even in the last couple of years, coming up to it, people have realized that, and from a business perspective, cash is expensive, checks are expensive. Even though to an end consumer, cash looks like it is just a transaction, to a business, it's actually more expensive. There's security risks, there's physical security, there's also digital security, there's compliance. But I think what now patrons as well as casinos are realizing is the data is not tangible at all. So if I walk in and I win $1,000 at a casino, after that, I'm out of the four walls and a casino has no idea who the patron is, nor can I give any benefit to that patron to come into my four walls. When you go cashless, you're actually now creating an ecosystem for that patron. And I'll give you the example. If I walk into a casino, let's say in Vegas, I win $1,000 or I win something at the jackpot, I can now request my money to come to my card instantly. If I don't want it on my debit card, and this is really what we work with EML on, what we've been able to power, is we can instantly issue you a card. At this time, a casino gets to give a card in their ecosystem. It's a reloadable card, so it's not a one and done. I've got that card in my wallet. I get to see my transactions, but now a casino can also reward that consumer multiple times. So they can say, I see how you're spending. I'm going to give you rewards. I know you're a strong maybe consumer, or here's rewards at the restaurant, or here's a benefit to come back. But now the customer actually has a lot more ability to control their spend and their earn. I see $1,000 come to my card. I know it's $1,000 there. So there's a lot more data points that are coming, and it's becoming a lot cleaner. Plus the interaction is seamless. I can do this transaction within a couple of seconds for even high amount value. So I can say somebody wins $25,000. Generally, that takes a ton of paperwork. With this ecosystem, I can not only push money to a card instantly, but the KYC, the due diligence, the sanction screening, all actually happens within a couple of seconds. And the money goes on to the consumer's, prepaid card in this instance. And I can leave the casino with that money in my hand on a card. So cash is becoming more of a nuisance, really, at the end of the day, and checks are always just a bad experience for consumers. And they're realizing that going digital and using those abilities and having a card on hand is making their life a lot easier.
Really interesting. So, Craig, I know Shams obviously used the word ecosystem. You use the word hub. I guess any similarities to what you're seeing in Australia? I mean, it sounds like you guys are kind of working towards very similar type goals, especially with loyalty, and I guess engaging with customers.
Yeah, absolutely, Rich. And I think from the last 10 years I've been operating in the global market, and Cherry Hub's very much focused in the Australian market at this point in time. And in terms of gaming, it's probably worthwhile prefacing for the audience that in Australia the regulatory position is a bit different to globally in the clubs and pubs and casinos in respect of gaming, and that cashless gaming itself is not allowed. It's still very much a cash-based driven transaction or engagement. But the governments do support moving to a cashless gaming environment and going through some trials in the next 12 months, really to look at how that can work in the context of improved controls around harm minimisation and anti-money laundering and those sort of things. So I think that's a really good thing for the for the industry, and also to be able to bring some more of the technology. And what I would say in the what I'm seeing in hospitality and leisure and our venues, our focus is very much in the engagement of the customer or the patron, and that's moved in recent years to being an engagement that's not just in venue. It's how you're sort of transacting or how you're interacting through the entire customer journey, from when they're at home, how they're getting to the venue, their access and access control into the venue, and then how you're transacting with them and converting them when they're at the venue, and building that trust and building that loyalty. And so over the last number of years in my background, it's largely in the POS space. We've seen that go very much from a sort of cash draw sort of scenario. The customer interaction is very much built around a touch point being the point of sale, and that then moved to obviously chip and pin and contactless cards, and it's really been the wallet. Digital wallet functionality has been driven in this sector more around the events and the ticketing. And now that's starting to morph into the payment space. So where we see it, it's a really important sort of convergence in the technology that's happening. Has been getting enhanced, but also is moving more into an integrated platform, bringing together digital IDs, customer credentials, with the digital payment experience, and allowing that to be customer driven, so the power and authority that is actually driven by the customer.
Fantastic. So, Craig, I guess similarly, and you said we're not cashless yet at pubs and clubs in Australia, but again, listening to Shams and the way things have already started to change in the States, I mean, it just almost seems too logical not to go down this road of digitization. So I guess do you look at your partnership with the EML, what you're doing from your app? Is the future of gaming really based in this digitization and electronization of payments and identification?
Yeah, look, and I'll say that the venues in general are embracing cashless, for all parts of their business, apart from the interaction with the gaming machines. And so I think that's a natural extension, and the venues are all about providing great experiences for the customer at the end of the day, and that needs to be done in a safe and secure way from the customer's perspective, and that has many aspects to consider, hygiene, but also in a venue there's a responsible service of alcohol, and there's responsible gambling as well to reduce harm to potentially bad sort of bad actors, as Shams put it, and ensure that people get the best experience across the entire venue. And so for us, and maybe echoing some of what Shams is alluded to, is it's all about integration, and it's all about how you're using the data. And I think open banking itself was kind of born out of putting the control of the data back in the consumer's hands, giving them the rights as to where they're providing their data and how that's being used to provide themselves, to give themselves a better experience. Our perspective is that the venues are really looking to better integration, better access to data, so that they can be providing a better experience to their customers. And so for us, through the hub and how we're working with EML through to a really a centralized branded card, so it becomes a branded experience for the venue that can sit digitally on their device. That they can incorporate a wallet around, whether that be incorporated within the application, within an app that the venue already has, or a new application specific around Cherry Hub, and giving them the that security around transactions and using having their credentials stored, that digital ID. Giving them the option as to how they're going to verify, those transactions that are happening with the biometrics, and also having multiple ways and multiple tenders that they can actually transact with the venue. So, in our environment, we see kind of the moving more toward the customer coming in and having the ability to transact using funds that are stored on the wallet, on the card, accessing loyalty points that they've earned through their loyalty relationships with the venue, or even gift cards and other rewards and promotions that they can have, and they can sit in different virtual accounts, but all be used as tender when they're making a transaction at the venue, and that also gives the venues a lot more ability to provide the right incentives that are personalised to the customer and how they want to interact with the venue. So that might be going to the restaurant, might be going to the bar, and it could be on the gaming floor once the regulation allows that in the future.
Fantastic. Yeah, so I guess in listening to both of you, it's been incredibly interesting to see what again the future holds for gaming venues, casinos, pubs, and clubs. But what we can do in partnership, what you guys are doing with your apps, your technology, coupled with payments. Obviously, sounds like we're creating much better customer experiences. We're engaging with customers a lot better, being able to tailor messaging, and then by creating this ecosystem, gathering a lot more data that can then be used to, really help from the regulatory point of view, responsible gaming point of view. So I guess, I can almost say, what you guys are doing, and I'd like to say what we're doing together, but, Craig, what you're doing with Cherry Hub, Shams, what you're doing with AppPay, fair to say, we are the future of what's going to happen in, physical gaming venues.
I completely agree. I think it's actually a redefining moment in that space. It's been antiquated for a very long time, and I think the industry knows that. They understand that it's cashless is the way to go, but what's the solution? That's always been the tough point, is how do you solve for, and it's not a small problem. It's a very large problem. How do you solve for that? Because there's multiple nuances that you have to take into account before you can put a solution in the market. If it was just payments, sure, anybody can do that. There's tons of processes that do that, but to make them, like Craig said, and you've mentioned, simple, safe and secure, seamless, and fast and reliable, that's the tough part. And you have to have partners that you can truly rely on that I think have and built a relationship with the end customer as well as businesses to say we can do that. And, when we partnered with EML on this, we looked at what you guys do in Australia, the scope of the work there, the expertise you guys have. We brought it to North America, and launching that program, tokenizing a card, putting it on somebody's iPhone, Samsung device, Google device instantly is something still the casinos are blown away with. when we showed the actual use case and we showed a demo at the G2E conference, in Vegas, they were still surprised that it happened in real time in front of them, because the idea of a transaction happening that quickly and then going onto their digital wallet was, to be honest, mind blowing. They were like, that's not real. You're doing a demo. I was like, guys, it's your card. There's real money on the card. You can spend it. It took a few times for them to understand, and a lot of dollars on our side for them to understand that it's real. The money is there for you to spend. So I think having that partnership and people seeing the true reality of it is now becoming, it's coming to fruition.
Craig?
Well, look, I would echo what Sham says, and that last point. It is still great when you're sitting with someone across a table and you send them an SMS and you put $25 onto their phone and they can go and spend it straight away at the venue. That's still still for me a great sales demonstration of the capability of what can happen, and it's how that gets driven, how that experience gets driven. So. The future kind of, more integrations, Sham's talked about partnerships. I think partnerships are really key here, because for too often in these venues, the technology has been a closed discussion, and everyone's very protective over their space. And so being open, what we do through Cherry Hub is we've got some of our own applications and some of our own solutions, but we do operate as a middleware as well. So we can bring new innovative solutions in that can provide a great experience to the customer or improve operations for the venue, but do that in an integrated environment, so you can continually be focused on the customer experience across their entire journey, from when they're at home, when they start thinking about coming to the venue, or even when they're not thinking about coming to the venue, and how you're communicating with them. And that whole integrated experience and how you're driving that. So I think that's very much driven around integration, very much driven around how you're utilising that data. And there's obviously very important, in what we're doing at Cherry Hub and what AppToPay would be doing with Shams is how you're handling that data is very important and key as well. So you continue to build that trust, that trust with the venues, but also really importantly that trust with the end customer.
Interesting. I think lastly, so Shams, you mentioned, so the industry knows there's a problem, but it's the how do we fix it question. Craig, you've mentioned middleware and saying, okay, well, there's lots of different systems that that we can create kind of a hub for. So I think you're probably both then also creating your own technologies. So for both of you, I guess talk to me a little bit about working, I guess with, Shams, you mentioned those nuances, working with the stakeholders, working with the casinos, with the pubs and clubs, with the venues, and, working with them to figure out what is it that they want and how we accomplish that. Same time, working with customers to create that customer experience for them.
Yeah, look, and I think I'll just touch on, what else is Cherry Hub doing around our platform and really help the industry, sort of move forward and move towards those sort of cashless gaming opportunities. And that a really important element of that in the Australian market is the is the controls, as I said earlier, that are being enhanced around things like anti-money laundering and harm minimisation for the actual player if they've got potentially some addiction type behaviours, etc. And so we've actually got a responsible gambling harm minimisation application that we've developed that actually meets the guidelines that have been set by the New South Wales government here in Australia, and that's really a staff application to assist the venue in actually recording and observing the player experience, the player behaviour, etc., and ensuring that everyone's having a great experience, but also doing it in a responsible way, and that extends somewhat outside of responsible gambling into responsible service of alcohol as well. And so we've built some applications there to assist the venue in doing that in a more seamless way with their staff, and helping with the education and kind of bringing that back into a central database, so that can also be integrated and utilised for the venue, and when necessary, used on behalf of the customer as well. Outside of that, we've also partnered, because we've got that integration hub with some other applications that add to the customer experience and journey. We integrate various sort of messaging capabilities through email, SMS, and sort of the future into chat, etc. that I was talking about. But also non-gaming gamification. So engaging with customers in a very fun way, with some mobile gaming functionality, and the ability for the venue to use that in various different ways. Do it in a fun way, run leaderboards, do it as a particular promotion. We have the Melbourne Cup coming up in Australia with the horse racing. Putting fun games out there that the patrons, the customers can interact with, that provide a fun experience linked to the brand, linked to the venue, and all of that helps with the engagement, helps with the improved data collection and cleansing of databases, and allows that to kind of move through to the payment experience. So. That also gives the venues an ability to engage with their sponsors and promotional partners, etc., to also allow them to engage with the venue's customers in a really fun, interactive way, and that all of that builds trust, all of that builds loyalty. There can be prizes in relation to that outside of gaming, all done as promotions, and all of that becomes different types of tender that can then ultimately be used. And I guess in explaining all of that, you can't do that without really focusing on adding value at the core and in the hub, and being able to bring some of your own applications and different technologies into that, all with a focus, as Sham said, on the end customer and what their experience is going to be like and their journey.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both so much. I've learned so much more about what you guys are doing. I know what we do with you guys, but it's so much, I guess, so interesting to understand what else is happening, certainly in your space, in the casino and that, I guess, physical venue space. So anything we missed? Any final thoughts, Shams?
No, I think you've covered everything from my side. I think we're just excited for the partnership. We're looking to see where it goes. Yeah, fantastic. Craig?
No, look, I really appreciate the opportunity to come and chat and with you, Shams and Rich, and look, we're really excited about some of the things that EML are working on into the future as well, like bringing more of that open banking real time experience into play. We're very keen to leverage that in providing our platform, our experiences, and doing all of that in a much more sort of real time experience way for the customer. And so I think that for us is quite exciting. And we obviously leverage the control pay, Richard, the functionality that gives our venues a lot more ability in the future to build more sophistication into their interaction with the customer, whether that be providing different incentives to come down to the venue, different opportunities for them to build relationships with promotional partners. And so I think the ability to do that and have for us all of that coming back through a central branded experience in card, and doing that with EML, we're really looking forward to the future of that.
Now, again, well, thank you both very much. Both of your business is incredibly exciting. So looking to see, Craig, what you guys do with Cherry Hub here in Australia, Shams, what you guys do with AppPay throughout Canada and North America. So appreciate you being here with us today at EML.CON, and appreciate the partnership, and really look forward to what the future holds for all of us. Thanks.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, guys. good morning. Welcome to EML.CON. Really like to thank Chris Koch and Todd Buckingham from VGW and Betmakers, respectively. As I've said in the past, I think one of the things that's most near and dear to my heart during my career at EML has been our partnerships in the gaming sector. I think typically people associate EML with the larger sports book side of the business and wagering. So really excited to talk about some of the different sectors within that industry. So like I said, Chris Koch from VGW on the social gaming side, and Todd Buckingham from Betmakers, who's aggregating a lot of the trackside bookies and aggregating some of the bookmakers. So really keen to talk about that. So really, without any further ado, gentlemen, can I get you to really just give us a bit of a rundown on, Chris, tell us about VGW. What do you guys do? What makes your business so interesting and so special?
Look, VGW is an interesting one. It is actually a unique business. Having worked in investment banking and other businesses for a long time, everyone thinks their business is unique. This is almost completely unique with respect to its customer proposition, and largely because the business founder has a patent on the little pieces that we've joined together. But we're a social gaming business, so all we sell is gold coins. Very familiar model. Zynga has a big footprint, and it's a pretty competitive space. But what we do is fuse it with a sweepstakes prize promotion so that there's some chance that you could win a prize. The best analog for our business is probably McDonald's Monopoly. People are familiar with that. You go into McDonald's, you buy a cheeseburger or a flat white, and during promotional periods, they'll give you a token to enter a competition. That's very close to what we do. We sell gold coins rather than cheeseburgers, but we have a relatively unique model. And what's really surprised us as we rolled into putting the EML card products into our business, it's not the same as, it's not a gambling business, it's not a wagering business. We don't have that kind of deposit, wager, withdraw kind of flow. It's principally on the purchase side of gold coins, although we are able to distribute some sweepstakes prizes through the channel. Was customer NPS and how much it was a little counterintuitive for us. Mailing a piece of plastic to customers actually really resonated with them. Down that vein of trust and safety and security and familiarity with business and payments with the customer. So that's VGW in brief, and I'll listen keenly to the Betmakers piece. I've been on the register for a little while. It looks like a great business. But what we do is unusual. There are a few peers. There's no direct peer doing exactly what we do, and that's meant that we've kind of had to forge our own path on payments, trust and safety, and in those sorts of things with customers, and find what has really clicked. And so it's been an interesting journey for a couple of years now. That started, I think, at an EML.CON in Sydney when we were still allowed to leave our houses. Either 2 or 3 years ago, I think.
Indeed. No, that's great. So Todd, as well, we go back some time, back to your back to some of your other ventures. So tell us a little bit about Betmakers and what you're doing that's kind of changing the space for online betting in Australia and hopefully soon in America.
Yeah, thanks, Richard, and great to catch up too, Chris. It's been a bit of a journey for us. We started creating products for bookmakers and for racing bodies, and we're creating sort of unique products for those guys that needed to, I suppose, streamline their business and try and make it a lot more automated. And we've developed a whole range of products for racing bodies and for bookmakers as well. So we've ended up in this place in between the racetracks and the bookmakers. So we're the conduit essentially between the two. When we provide services for both. So for racing clubs, we pick up their channel or their races, and we distribute that to bookmakers all around the world. We also create integrity systems and we help them out with their official prices and data that goes from one place to another. So you could be on the other side of the world betting on a race meeting that's happening here in Australia. For operators, we then create products for those guys so they can automate pricing solutions and those data feeds as well. and we do all their race day controls. So we tell them when, a horse is starting or scratched, and when the race jumps, and when the race finishes, we give them their final results. And then through the betting side of it, we tell them what prices they should be betting as well. So a whole range of services, and the business has evolved and developed, and we've created our own platforms, and now we've got essentially racing in a box where you can pick up a Betmakers product and start betting on racing from about 300,000 racing events per year. So a lot of events, and a lot of action that's going on 24/7, 365 days a year.
Nice. So on the, I guess, on the aggregation side of it, and what you're doing with the bookies card, tell us a little bit, Todd, about how your, I guess, or you tell me, what does that customer experience look like, tying together some of certainly these trackside bookies that would have been purely cash businesses in the past?
Yeah, look, it's amazing with this industry that how it evolves, and one, I suppose, hurdle creates opportunities. We had the pandemic in March last year, where all of the on-track bookmakers obviously had a business, and with no customers going to the track, they didn't have a business. So they had to evolve, and they had to go online, and it was just good timing for us. We had a product that was ready to go, a white label platform that you could pick up, and as an on-course bookmaker, you could bring that online, and you could then offer your racing to your customers. So we had this huge take up over the last sort of 18 months now, where all these on-course bookmakers, the bookmakers that usually go to track and get your customers when you're at the races, moved online, and those guys now have got an online business, and so the evolution of the on-course bookmaker now moves online. And the exciting thing, I suppose, when we've introduced the bookies card is that, when you go to a track, you bet in cash, and you go up to a bookmaker and you put your bet on. If you win, you get your cash back, and you can go and bet with another bookmaker if you want. Mm-hmm. And that's how we came up with the idea of the bookies card. Very similar to an on-course experience, where you've got a bookies card that can go across your bookmakers. And so all these on-course bookmakers that are used to, providing a service, and the customer will come back if you provide that good service in the same sense as a bookies card. If you provide a service, then that customer will stay with you. If you don't, then they can pick their money up and go to somewhere else. And so that's why I've introduced the bookies card, is so that you can get that on-course experience, but online.
Sensational. So, Chris, obviously Todd mentioned the pandemic. I would have loved to go this entire interview without mentioning the pandemic, considering we just got free down here in Melbourne. But obviously from a social gaming point of view, social gaming existed way before the pandemic. But how did the pandemic affect your business? You see the similar type of thing with Todd, where it just completely evolved how your business functioned?
I see it in a couple of different ways, and I think one of the neatest sort of expressions for this I've actually borrowed from a couple of colleagues who were more in e-com, a kind of online retail, who probably hit some of the themes that many of us have seen in COVID a bit earlier in the cycle, where it's been described as a pull forward of the curve of customers that you are probably going to interact with already. It hasn't been a kind of spike or a burst, in the sense that we're still growing in our business off some of the COVID periods. We're cycling pretty punchy periods of historical growth, but continuing to grow on them. So I think that pull forward is not a bad way to look at it. Certainly, we're in the business of selling entertainment products that you use from your phone. So being imprisoned in your house for an extended period of time, obviously, is quite good for our market. But it's been more than that. I think that there are three kind of key ingredients for us in terms of how we actually build a successful entertainment business in games and gaming. Obviously, you need content and you need the games. VGW's been almost fully vertically integrated for a long time now, producing our own content, although we do use external studios now. So that was kind of navigatable through the pandemic. We need good low friction flows with customers, including payments. Again, we kind of had that before, and that transitioned pretty well through the crisis. What was interesting, though, was we also need running a big freemium model, you need user acquisition, and you need an ability both to find and engage with and onboard new users, and also retain and reactivate and continue to keep people engaged. And it is fair to say that those channels, when you use the big ones like Facebook and all of the kind of customer user acquisition channels, that was an interesting time through the pandemic, because suddenly everyone's throwing their money into those channels and you're all bidding for the same AdWords or the same eyeballs. And that was an interesting one to navigate in terms of just being disciplined on the marketing side. So it was more subtle through the last 18 months. Obviously, February, March of last year was just crazy, and everyone's locked in their house, and that was an interesting period of time. But since then, there have been these little drifts that have changed some key attributes of the business, and the challenge has been to watch those slow movements and navigate them.
Okay. No, that's really good.
I think we've seen from our perspective a real. I think it's a good analogy. Pull forward, like the change from retail to online just got accelerated, and that's what we've seen in the online gambling business. And I suppose the difference with us is that we already had a core of customers that used to bet in retail, and because they had nowhere to go, they had to find a home, and so those guys actually transitioned. So we've seen this real acceleration in our business in terms of our customers, that the customers that they acquired, and that acceleration from the retail customers, and that pull forward. What Chris was mentioning is a good analogy, in that these customers would have ended up online, but they would have just taken years, where they happened to do it in 6 months. So it's been a real acceleration from a wagering perspective, because it had that customer base already.
It just changed something fundamental, right? It's been seen in every industry, even the kind of direct release of a cinematic movie on a streaming platform. Because if you can't leave your house, or now you've got to put a mask on, and 5 QR codes later, and many questions about whether you've been to something on the exclusion list or whatever, degree of difficulty of some things has just got extremely high, almost at random. So in our business, we've just seen that if you have a good funnel, good payments funnel, you can keep everything low friction, and you can engage with your customers well online. It's a good place to be, because you can do that in the environment of your choosing, rather than necessarily having to go somewhere in the more physical sense outside of your house or wherever you happen to be.
And how amazing the adaptability of businesses and business owners to just pick up things and just go, like restaurants, be able to go from serving customers in a restaurant to delivering food in a packaged format, and like that almost happened overnight. They're just amazing, entrepreneurs in the business, in businesses around Australia. So it's been a pleasure to watch.
There are obviously good and bad things about how much people use handheld smartphones and those sorts of things, but it's moved from you've probably got a smart device to absolute ubiquity, in the sense that, I don't know what you do with a QR code if you don't have a phone. It's probably not going to be very useful to you. Now everyone, it is an assumption that you have an up-to-date, high-end handheld device. You're using it in your everyday kind of COVID life, or post-COVID life, or whatever we want to call it. Yeah. So that's definitely, you can see in some of the broader kind of research that comes out about screen time. It's not just for teenagers. Screen time for adults has step changed. And for better or worse, when you're providing a product or a service that's delivered on device, the more time people are spending on it, and the greater the level of sophistication they have with those devices, and the software is another kind of tailwind.
Sure. Yeah, and I would say, Todd, clearly, that step change from walking up, at the track, the people who just traditionally loved betting with cash. You had your guy, who had, his bag of cash. You walked up, you gave him, you bet, and then when the minute you won, assumably, you took that bet slip and went back. So that change has just been, incredibly dramatic too. Like I said, they would have probably gone to become online gaming customers anyway, but it's just accelerated that.
For sure. Yeah. And now, like, if you're a retail your retail venue, you need to adapt and offer both digital and retail and that user experience when you're in your retail shop. So we've seen that with our customers in the US that, from, the racetracks and the casinos that we're working with, everyone's talking now about how do we engage the customer on the phone while they're in the venue. And so we're developing, systems and programs so that you can have that experience across both. So you can be in the venue but still be online on your phone, and you can do your betting while you're there. You can cash out your tickets while you're there, but it's all on your mobile phone.
Yeah, no, very exciting. So you both mentioned payments, and kind of the theme of today is obviously the future of payments and what it means to various industries. I guess who would have thought years ago that a payment mechanism could almost become an engagement tool? But you both talked about customer experience and engagement. So Chris, you started off really with customer NPS. Talk to us about that and what that means to you and what you've seen with your customers.
I mean, we run a freemium business, so 90% of our customers don't pay. We're in the business of giving things away: gold coins, sweeps coins, whatever. If you hit our platforms, if you're in North America, we will give something to you. That's our business. So convert to pay obviously is a very important funnel for us. When you've got that last decile that become your paying customer base, you really care about those conversion metrics and friction around that. And the payments trust and safety thing is real now. People are naturally skeptical. The number of people I've hung up on who've been legitimate, who I've accused of running a phishing scam, it's real. And it's the same for customers. There's a real sense of, needing some safety and security in payments. So we've noticed that even for, smaller end micropayments, having a kind of captive ecosystem that people can trust, that they've engaged with and onboarded with, and done all of the KYC and everything that's now very familiar to people in the online space, that adds a high level of trust to what is an important point in our funnel, that convert to pay. So that was a lot more impactful than we thought it would be. Actually, we didn't see or expect the kind of very significant increase in those trust scores and just level of engagement around it. So it makes sense in retrospect. You look at it and think, okay, I get that now. My initial skepticism was potentially around, do I need another card? Does customer need another card? It's like when someone says, download this app, and you say, no, I'm good. I have 9,000 already. They spend half an hour updating every day. I don't need more. So we were a little, potentially skeptical on that front of, do we need more here? Does customer need another credential, another whatever? But it turns out, they do. They like it. And it's been significant for us. So it's been a surprisingly successful channel for us. But not surprising that it's successful, but kind of above our measured expectations going into it.
Yeah, right. Sorry, Todd, go ahead.
I was just going to say, from our side, and we've basically flipped the payment on its head in terms of, it's usually the last piece of the puzzle. So you sign up a customer. They come in, they deposit, and then when they want to withdraw, they withdraw onto the card. With the bookies card, we're actually using that for our customers. Our customers are the bookmakers, the operators. We're actually using that as an acquisition tool. And so, we promote the bookies card, come in and get hold of, all your bookies in on one card. And so you come up and sign up for the card, and at the same time you sign up to all the bookmakers. And so all the bookmakers then that are a member of the card actually acquire a customer every time we acquire a customer for the bookies card. So it's a really unique way, I suppose, of using the cash payment, cash wallet in that sense, that for us as a B2B operator, we're actually providing a service because we're providing customers to our operators.
Todd, so I understand the flow here. You're simultaneously doing B2B and B2C with the payment card.
So we're a B2B supplier, and our bookmakers are our customers, and the customers have got their B2C. So essentially the customer comes in and signs up to a bookies card, and you can sign up to your bookies card, but then you sign up to all your bookmakers, and we've also got tipping services and pricing solutions and stuff that you can sign up to as well. So our dynamic odds, Tom Waterhouse app, for example, but then our on-course bookmakers, you can sign up to all of those at the same time. So from our perspective, it's a B2B product for our B2C operators.
So so to clarify, basically, the more, I guess the more cards out in the market, when a new on-track bookie wants to sign up with you, well, it's attractive to them because they've now got access to this whole pool of card holding customers. Yeah.
Correct. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you both, and I'll, I think, so if the card, if having a card for payouts adds to customer engagement and adds to customer, the customer experience. Now, granted, winnings are going to that card, but I think in Todd, obviously you're demonstrating that ability for money to go back from the card to the gaming account. Can we draw a line and say, winnings are coming out, but by virtue of having that winnings card, you're actually increasing revenue because customers are staying around longer. They're betting more frequently. They're pushing money back to their account.
I think one of the biggest challenges when we started online gambling way back when was that the customer puts money in, but it took them days to get their money back out. And I think when you introduced the winnings card to whether it was, the sports bet or the Ladbrokes, and what we've seen was because the customer could get access to their money, they were quite happy to put their money into a bookmaker's account because it wasn't stuck there for 2 or 3 days. And so it's not the fact that you want to withdraw your money out and take it. It's the fact that you can get access to it if and when you have a winner. If you back a winner on a Saturday, then you can take the wife out for a nice Chinese and pay for it with your winnings card. And I mean, I think that was the real catalyst to, for the success of the card. And that's what we're trying to do with the bookies card as well, is that, you've got access to your money. So in essence, it's like cash. So you can pick it up from one spot and put it in another. You can pick it up and go and pay for something. So it's not the fact that you want to withdraw it and take it out and see you later. It's just, knowing that you've got access to your money.
Fantastic. Chris, what kind of behavior are you seeing?
We have a slightly different position, obviously running a social casino, but being able to fulfill a prize if a customer wins a sweepstakes. But it's not dissimilar in the sense that, other ways you could fulfill a prize like that is to, send them a gift card. And there are plenty of different providers or ways that you can do that. Mm-hmm. But when you can put it back, when you can fulfill a prize to someone using a very secure, fully KYC'd framework where customers on board are on the way through, just from a business risk perspective, you so dramatically lower so many exposures around AML, KYC, CTF, PEP, sanctions, all of the scary 3-letter stuff that you have to be very focused on in terms of the payment flows. So for us, it's a huge step change for people who win a minor prize in the sweepstakes to be able to do that at a low business cost and in a way that you can get very comfortable with, because we put obviously players getting the payment card go through a pretty significant KYC experience to get it in the first place, but when customers on the other side of that, it's so much safer from the business's perspective as well as for customer. So we just find it all becomes a bit of a virtuous circle about the security of the experience that they're having in interacting with the product.
I mean, you would find that as well, Chris, in that, a person wins a prize and they can pull it down onto your card. That ease of being able to do that then encourages them to keep playing, because
it's all friction, right? Lower the friction. And we find also that in that environment where you need to be, aware of any kind of chargebacks or friendly fraud or any other kind of, the uglier side of having to deal with payments flows, because there are customers or bad actors out there who who cause a lot of grief on those fronts, obviously you have a dramatically lower likelihood of encountering anyone who's a bad actor once they're on the other side of a fully verified account. It's one of the things that I find all of the high quality merchants and good actors that are out there that you see at conferences like this when they're not on Zoom or abstracted because of the environment. But a lot of the discussion is around how you stop bad actors, friendly fraud, which is not so friendly, all of the things that cause you chargebacks or RFIs or all of the kind of, the rubbish stuff that no one likes to deal with, but you have to. We've found that once you can put a customer in, and maybe it's just the fact that once you've provided your social security number to get verified in a platform, in our case in the North American market, there's just so much lower of a propensity to do anything incorrect or dodgy. So you'd end up with this kind of contained pool of highly verified customers with which you have far fewer issues. So that's a significant advantage in terms of wanting to actually kind of, push customers towards taking up the card.
The entire theme of the day is the future of payments. So I think in both of your cases, you've talked about, how your present has been so accelerated, and that pull forward, to steal your phrase, Chris. So I'll ask, what's next? And from a technology and a payments point of view, Todd, you've mentioned crypto. What do you expect from the likes of EML and from a payments point of view? What do you see as next, and what do you want?
This is a bugbear for me in some senses, and I think that it's actually for some of the related parties in the ecosystem around payment providers and gateways. Okay. I think getting open banking in markets, if you have to transact in or out of a bank account, having a maybe will settle in 3 days and it might not appear on your statement for a week, it's not a good experience. Australia has good open banking. India has good open banking. North America generally does not, for whatever reason. And it's a frustration. I kind of joked recently that ACH was kind of a 1960s technology or 1970s. It is. I looked it up on Wikipedia. ACH is significantly older than I am. And that's a challenge. And then some other things I think potentially around how we do our payments, trust and safety, particularly around card scheme payments. For card not present, wouldn't we all love to be able to get the name field to do some matching on the name field? You go and pay for something in person and your receipt has your name on it. It's because it's on the chip or on the mag strip or something. In a message, in a scheme card auth message, you can't easily compare customer name to name on card. And it's one of those incredibly simple things that goes a very long way on the payments, trust and safety side. So I think there's some low-hanging fruit around just adoption of those real-time auth and sharing potentially of a bit more data, particularly back up from issuing banks, so that the payments and anti-fraud data scientists, technical teams just have a few more of those critical reference points, which are really important. And in some ways, still card present has just more. There's a little more security depth to some of the features, which is a bit of a surprise. You would think that card not present, for those of us taking more remote payments from people that we're not able to physically see, would be able to be competitive on giving us all of the tooling for anti-fraud and on the safety side.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, like, we're excited about the Bookies card in that it's an acquisition-led product. So we're acquiring customers because of that card, and it's like I suppose the integrity of the operator. You sign up to an online bookmaker, and it's not so much here in Australia, but the US is seeing that now. You go, who do you trust? Is that operator? If I put my money into that operator's account, am I going to be able to get it back out if I back a winner? And that's been the real challenge for the US market, I suppose, as it regulates and moves around the states. The customers then going to look at it and go, well, which brands can I trust? And that's why the big brands keep getting the customers. But for us to be able to provide a product where we can say, well, here's a trusted card because you can go in and out, and the operators that are associated with that card must be trusted because you can put your money in and out of an account. So, leading with that product to go into the US market, it's been a real challenge for those operators as the regulations roll out. Acquiring customers, getting them to put money into their account. How do you get money in? How do you get money out? I mean, someone said the other day that the bookmakers are still paying in check when you withdraw your money out. So, which is absolutely crazy. How long would a check take to get to a customer's account, home address, and then they've got to go and bank it, and then they've got
Might be quicker than ACH.
Potentially, mate. Yeah, but I mean, these are the challenges that the guys are facing at the moment. So.
Yeah. No, and I think obviously we just acquired Centennial, so our NuaPay open banking brand in Europe. Granted, and our sweet spot right now is the UK. We've launched the NuaPay product here in Australia as well. Again, both very kind of future forward payments markets. It will be interesting to see how the US evolves for open banking and how quickly, hopefully, we can take those products there. And I think, for both of you operating in the US, card payments are great because it's much faster, but we are, the US is still stuck with ACH and checks, and it's just, they're slow.
I mean, this is a pretty sophisticated day and age that we live in. And your typical customer who doesn't necessarily understand how the banking system is structured, in Australia, not every payment is a fast payment or an OSCO or whatever we're calling it. But people ask the question, we've got my account number in BSB, why does it take a week? Like, you tell me. And in my own mind, I think, why does this sit in a batch file or a CSV, or is someone burning this to a CD-ROM and walking it from one building to another? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You would think that this could be a real-time auth. So people want a real-time auth, and it's so much more useful for anti-fraud and for any reporting that you need to do. It does astound me that in very sophisticated markets, we still have what must be highly manual batch processing of transactions with trivial attributes, name, a couple of strings, amount, message reference. This is not hugely complicated. So I think that's a big one. It goes into that payments trust and safety piece and the customer trust, where if you do move money from one place to another, you have more trust if it's either in one place or another, not in the middle and check back in 3 days and maybe it'll be there and maybe it won't. That something that's canonical so the customer knows where it is. It's not an unfair ask, I think, from any customer's perspective.
Yep. Okay, great. Look, anything we've missed, guys? I mean, from whether future payments, what your businesses are doing, certainly in the States, Todd here in Australia. What have we missed?
Yeah. We're really excited about the US market. Obviously, it's just starting to regulate, and Chris, you'd be excited about the rollout of iGaming in a lot of states as well, being a regulated environment. And I suppose the difference between going into Europe and the United States is you get licensed and you get regulated in Europe, and you actually get access to the European market. You get licensed in the United States, and you've got to get 50 different states. Like, it's not an easy process. Every one of those states is like another country. So there's challenges there, but those challenges there create opportunity as well. So, we're really excited about the US market. We think it's on the real bottom of the curve, even though that there's a lot of money getting thrown at the industry, and well regarded as well. So it's warranted because it's such a big addressable market that's going to come. So it's a focus for us, and I'm sure it's a focus for Chris as well, who's already operating there.
It's just 15 or 20 Australia's incredibly deep channels. It's just such a good market for B2C. Richard, I'd flip that question around to you guys. Like, what's next? I mean, this is what you've packaged up in the early days, a few years ago, it's very innovative. It's kind of really changed a lot of customer interactions. Yeah. What's next?
Like I said, I think for us, what we saw as next was open banking, exactly as you said, and that's where we jumped in as quickly as we could. We were looking for that, the right fit, the right acquisition target, and I think we were really lucky to find Centennial. Right place, right time, and we're incredibly excited about that partnership. The teams have already started, selling together, certainly throughout Europe, where, kind of our stronghold with that product right now. And, it is really interesting when you talk to a gaming partner in Europe, now we're kind of solving both sides of the equation. So I think, we've talked a lot about the cash coming out onto the winnings card, the engagement and I guess customer experience that derives, and then pushing that money getting pushed back to the game account. So, that engagement is really there with the customer when they have the card and wallet. But now with open banking, to get money into the bank, into the gaming account, from the onset, that's really exciting. So, for us as a payments operator, absolutely, if we can help our gaming partners, relieve the friction for the money coming in from the outside, and then work with them on those branded products, that engagement, that customer experience on the winnings, and keep that money I guess kind of churning once it is in. I think now we've got a much more compelling argument for our gaming partners if we can help solve both sides of that equation,
because the customer doesn't care about open banking or any of this. You just want to, in our case, you want to buy a packet of gold coins. We just want you to do that in a way that is safe and secure and convenient for you. That's low stress, low risk for us from an anti-fraud or any kind of, any of the other bits and pieces that we're all obligated to keep an eye on, and then get into enjoying the game.
Exactly.
It's a different proposition. Our model is a bit unique in that sense on social casino, but much as we have teams that focus on all of this, and payments is very important from the customer's perspective, we just want to get you playing an entertaining game on your phone, off you go, and not have to think about payments too hard.
Yeah, and I think that's if we can create an environment where, again, minimize and take away the friction from the customer, that to the point that they don't even know that we're there. that's truly our, I guess our goal and our mission is, the customer never needs to know who EML is or what we do. We just made it a heck of a lot easier for you to have fun, on a gaming site. And that's, ultimately that's what we're all here for. So I guess, in part, so Chris, any future international expansion ideas? Are you guys going to leave, or are you going to add any countries to the United States?
I'm a big believer in opportunity cost and kind of knowing your opportunity cost. And I view that right now, the next kind of 6 to 12 months, we're in just amazing markets in North America, with some great macro tailwinds, and an environment we're very comfortable with. So my advocacy internally is to focus on our high opportunity cost spaces. Okay. But we do have more scoped internationally. It's about, I think, when we find the comfortable time to do that and allocate those resources, knowing that it's a tight market for engineering and software developers, and everyone's kind of feeling this. There's only so much resource to go around, so I try and advocate for us to focus on our really successful markets and keep the can down the road a little bit on other geographies. They'll still be there, and not to say they're unattractive, but it's all about that relativity and where you apply what is a pretty scarce pool of technical resource.
Yeah. So Todd, same to you. So clearly, you've long been established in Australia. You've now entered the US market. What are your plans?
Look, I think like Chris, the advantage that Betmakers has got is that we've been working on this for the last 5 years, the US market. So, where people now are seeing the opportunity and trying to come in, the thing that's invaluable is the amount of effort and time that we've put into that market, and we understand it, and we're at such a big advantage to a newcomer that comes in. And Chris, you'd attest to this, but you've been in that market for a long period of time, and so a new person comes in and says, oh, okay, then I'm going to take this opportunity, I'm going to run with it. But you just can't put a price on the experience of being in that market for so long and trying to carve this out. By the end of the year, we'll be striking our first fixed odds bet on horse racing. We've moved the legislation, we've changed the law in the US for this to be able to come to fruition, and that's not something you do overnight. It's something that puts it's been put a lot of time and effort into it, and for us, it's we'll reap the rewards of all the effort that we've done over the previous year's work. Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you being here with us today at EML.CON. Hopefully sooner than later, Chris. Like I said, really appreciate the partnership that we've had with both of you guys over the years, and really looking forward to growing our businesses together for the years to come. Thanks for having us, and congratulations on your business, and same with you, Chris. And I think it's great that some Aussie companies can be carving up the world and in other markets as well. And we're leading the way on that front.